it's Jessii Vee, and today I am a skeleton. I literally have endless Halloween shirts. I could do this all year long. Like, I probably have a Halloween shirt for every single day of the year, and I'm not even mad about it. And if you guys would like a Halloween shirt, specifically one that I designed personally, we have the That's So Creepy shirts, one in purple, one in gray. You guys know the deal by now. If you would like one, I've linked them down below. The reason why I'm mentioning them so much is because they're only available in October for Halloween, but obviously you can wear them any time of the year. But yeah, they're down below if you want to get your creepy on. Alright, so in today's video, we're going to be talking about why you should never babysit on Halloween. So I'm going to be starting off with a very eerie story about that, and then we're going to be talking about just some general creepy babysitting stories, because honestly guys, kids can be very creepy sometimes. I just don't babysit in general anymore because I had a very bad experience a few years ago. If you guys are like OG subscribers to this channel, you remember my babysitting experience. This video right here. Alright, so let's get right into our first story. This is called The Doorbell Rang After Midnight. This is about a teenager who was babysitting two kids while their parents were out at a Halloween party. He took the kids trick-or-treating for about an hour and then spent the rest of the evening handing out candy to kids that came by the house. Now, around 9 p.m. or so, he was completely out of candy. So he just put the kids he was babysitting to bed and assumed that no one else would be coming to the door. I don't know about you guys, but my parents always stopped handing out candy around like 9:30 or 10 p.m. at night on Halloween. They always told us that if anyone else came to the door after those hours, they were probably like older teenagers, older adults that just wanted to cause trouble. So they always told us, like, girls, after 9 p.m., do not open the door. Anyways, let's get back to the story. So this guy put the kids to bed and was just watching TV. Now, it's important to note in this story that this particular house he was babysitting at had light sensors on the porch. So for example, if anyone ever walked onto the porch, the lights would turn on because of these motion sensors. Well, around midnight, this babysitter was just sitting on the couch watching TV when the doorbell rang. And he knew right away it wasn't the parents because they had a key to the house and would normally just walk in. So he instantly thought that it must just be some teenagers out on Halloween trying to cause some trouble. He decided not to answer it, but about 30 seconds later, the doorbell rang again. So he took a deep breath, got up, and walked over to the door and slowly opened it. What he saw was the silhouette of two kids standing on the porch in the darkness. They were holding out their Halloween bags towards him, and for some reason the motion lights hadn't turned on. So the babysitter assumed the lights must have been like out of batteries because of all the trick-or-treaters he had that night. So the two kids standing in the darkness on the porch suddenly said, "Trick or treat," at the very same time, but something sounded very off about their voices. They almost sounded inhuman. So the babysitter told them that he was completely out of candy and that they shouldn't be out at night this late. But the kids just stood there in the darkness on his porch. He was unable to see their faces.
"Okay, go home now,"
he told them. He started gesturing towards the sidewalk, but they still just stood there in the darkness on the porch. He started to get spooked and closed the door, and they stood there on the porch for what seemed like minutes and minutes, and then they slowly turned around and walked away. Once they were gone and he had no sight of them anymore, he walked out on the porch, and the second he walked out there, the motion sensor lights turned on, so they were working. His heart stopped when he realized why the lights may not have detected them. Maybe they weren't human. Maybe they were something else. And the second I heard this story, I instantly thought of like black-eyed children, and I've done a whole video on them. They're scary. But anyways guys, that's why you should never babysit on Halloween. So the next story I want to call you is actually just titled The Babysitter. Not very creative, but this is actually a classic horror story based off an urban legend that I feel like a lot of you have probably heard before. Back when I was growing up, people told this story to me all the time, and they actually even made a horror movie based off of this urban legend called When a Stranger Calls, and this movie came out in like early 2000s, I think. But here's how this urban legend goes. There was this young girl who really needed a job, and she was able to find a babysitting job for a couple who lived in a large, isolated old house. The couple wanted to go see a movie that night, so they left their 3 kids in the hands of this babysitter. The babysitter put the children to bed, and when it got late, she went downstairs to watch some television. She was just getting comfortable when she heard the phone ringing, and when she answered it, all she heard was this heavy breathing followed by a man's voice asking,
"Have you checked on the children?"
Freaked out, she hung up the phone, trying to convince herself that it must have been some like practical joke that was being played on her. Maybe it was one of her friends that were prank calling her. her it couldn't have been real, or so she kept telling herself. She went back to watching television, but about 15 minutes later, the phone rang again. She picked it up and heard hysterical laughter from the other end. Then the same voice asked,
Why haven't you checked on the children?
So once again, the babysitter slammed down the phone. She was feeling so afraid, and she decided to call the police. The operator at the police station told the girl that if the man called again, she should try to keep him on the phone, and that way the police could track where he was calling from. A few minutes later, the phone rang a third time, and when the babysitter answered it, she heard the heavy breathing once again, and the voice on the other line said,
You should really check on the children.
The babysitter listened to him laughing hysterically for a long time, long enough for the police to be able to see where he was coming from. She hung up the phone and the police called her. The operator was frantic, and she told her, Get out of the house now. The calls are coming from your upstairs phone. So she knew right away that whoever was calling her from inside the house. The girl ran out of the house, and when the police got there, they searched the house and found the two children upstairs hiding in the closet. The two kids were crying uncontrollably, and when the police went into the parents' bedroom, the back window was wide open and the curtains were blowing in the breeze. And that's how this story ends, and there's kind of different versions of it that people tell, but this story freaked me out so much as a kid, and it also kind of made me not want to babysit, because that's really scary. And the last story I want to talk about is called The Witch Is Here. Now, what's so creepy about this story is that apparently it's a true story. This is about a girl who was babysitting her two nieces. One was just 3 months old, and the other one was 5 years old. Now, this 5-year-old had a room right across from the baby's room. So there was a hallway, and the 5-year-old was here, and the baby was here. So they could like see into each other's room. The babysitter was lying in the baby's room around midnight, and suddenly she heard the 5-year-old start screaming in her room. So obviously the babysitter jumped out of bed, ran into this 5-year-old's room, and she saw this little girl sitting upright in her bed, and over she was saying,
The witch is here. The witch is here. The witch is here.
And she was pointing into the baby's room. So the babysitter tried to calm her down, and the girl was able to fall back asleep. And when she walked back into the baby's room, she saw the baby sitting up in her crib playing patty cake with no one there. She was literally playing patty cake to just like nothing. How does a 3-month-old know how to play patty cake by themselves? So this completely freaked out the babysitter, because obviously she wondered, is there a witch actually here? Like this creepy spirit that I can't see? And since that day, she was unable to babysit ever again. So that is the end of today's video. If you guys have any creepy babysitting stories, definitely comment them down below. But I hope you enjoyed this video, and don't forget, if you would like a That's So Creepy shirt, I have linked them down below. But I hope you guys have an awesome rest of your day, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!